Welcome back to Candy's Art World. I'm Candy, and today we're going to try a pour painting. So what I do for pour paintings is I'll select the colors that I want in my pour painting. Today I'm going to use some paints I got from Lowe's. You can get for like $3. This Valspar already mixed color. This one is satin finish and it's schoolboy blue. And I have this one, which is also satin and it's deep twilight blue. I have ivory black from Liquitex Basics, titanium white. I have classic gold from Craft Paint. I guess that's the brand. Oh, Anita's all-purpose metallic craft paint. I've had this bottle for a while. There's not a whole lot left in there, but I like a little metallic in my pour paintings. And then I have a turquoise from Folk Art. So in order to mix the paint right, we have a thing called Floetrol. This is a brand that I picked up, I do believe, from Lowe's. It might have been Home Depot, but I think it was Lowe's. So you get this, and then you'll get your paint, and you'll get some water if it needs water, and you'll mix it in little cups, and then there's different methods to go from there after you mix the colors. So let's go ahead and start mixing some colors. I've got some spoons to use to get some paint out of there so I don't pour and get a bunch of paint all over the outside. Makes it really hard to reopen. And if you don't have the Floetrol, you can also use Elmer's school glue. I think what I'll do is I'll pour into this cup and then from this cup down into little cups. And I'm also gonna, I think I'll use a big cup for white paint because I tend to use more white paint. So you use about 2 parts of this to a part of the paint, if I remember correctly. It's been a while. It helps make the paint flow on the canvas. This stuff is actually for professional house painters. Okay. So I think I will start, and I have a bunch of plastic knives that I use to stir things with instead of buying stuff for it. I already had some plastic knives on hand, so might as well use what I have. I think I'll start with a turquoise. It's a green turquoise. I had a blue turquoise, but I don't have enough of it left, so I might end up adding a little bit of blue to it, but maybe not, because I have 2 blue paints I'm going to be using, so. So when you're mixing, you want to incorporate it to where you don't see any more of the clear. But I bet that would make a really cool effect if you did leave it to where it was streaky. This form of art is very relaxing. There's no right or wrong that I found anyways. Just kind of play around with it and see what works for you. So there's the turquoise. Put that off to the side. And I'll do my gold here. And see, it makes like a string of paint coming off the knife. You kind of want that runny consistency. You want to mix it really well, but you want to try and do it carefully so you don't get a lot of air in there. You don't want a lot of bubbles. Yep, that looks pretty good. I might not end up needing water after all. And then we'll do this light blue. Ah, it's been a while since I opened this, obviously. Okay, use a spoon so I don't pour. I'll give this a stir so that way I should have probably shook it up, but I was having trouble getting it open because last time I used it, I made a really big pour. It was a 3 foot by 3 foot canvas. And so I just poured from here into one of these big cups. And I apparently didn't clean off the container well enough before I closed it back because it kind of glued it shut. I'm going to go ahead and close that back so that it doesn't dry out. Probably could have just used the spoon I used to get it out of there, but I wanted to make sure I had enough paint in the cup first because I didn't want to take the spoon and put it back in the container if I was needing to get more. But it looks like I have enough. But I can use what's on the spoon too. So different paints have different thicknesses. So you're gonna have to use a little more or a little less of a certain kind of paint. So there's the light blue. Now we'll do the darker blue. Where did my other spoon go? Oh, there it is. Stir it up. Oops, let me shut this too. I don't know if you can see that, the way it flows off of the knife. Okay, and then I'm gonna do a little cup of black. And it's still a little lumpy. Okay, and if you want a lot of what they call cells, which are like little dots that form in the paint, you can add WD-40, or I've heard people use um, treadmill oil or something like that. I've never tried that, but I have put WD-40 in my paints before to get the cells. And when you do add the WD-40 or whatever oil or whatever you're going to use, lubricant, um, the more you stir, they say the bigger your cells will be. The less you stir, the smaller, or vice versa. I don't remember which. Um, and this one I'm going to make white a big cup. Okay, you guys might be wondering why I have little red cups upside down. I'm going to set my canvas on that so it's raised off the surface. Otherwise, when you pour, it's going to roll over the edges and it will glue down to whatever it is that you have for a surface, and it's not ideal to have to try and pull your art off of a trash bag or whatever. I one time did a pour for, and I forgot to put a trash bag down. And let me tell you, this drop cloths right here, they're good, but it still seeped through because it was a lot of paint. So I suggest putting plastic of any sort down before you start this so you don't end up regretting life. Trying to clean that up is not fun. Okay, that looks pretty good. I'm going to move my paint colors off to the sides. Hopefully not spilling any of them. Okay. And then here's an empty cup. I'm going to alternate colors pouring into the empty cup in layers. And then I will take my canvas and put it on top and then flip it over like this. And then when you let it go, like the paint spreads out, and it's a really fun thing to do. It doesn't it forces you to not be a perfectionist. It's just a nice way to be free and see what ends up happening. Usually it comes out pretty. It's never the same thing twice. Okay. You want whatever you have holding it up to be underneath the edges instead of popping out the side, because the paint will pool up on that and then you'll have a funky piece of dry paint hanging off your artwork that I'm sure you can take it off or peel it or something, but then you run a risk of messing it up. So just make sure you tuck the cups under. Okay. And now here's the cup. I'm going to start with white. So the first thing that you put in the cup is actually going to be the last thing out of the cup. So I'm going to start with white. I'm going to stand up so that way I can see what I'm doing. And then, what order do we want to do this in? Should have thought of that first. Oops, I hit my head on the camera. Apologize for that. Okay. Oh, you can't see the paint from down here, so I'll put it. So let's do maybe maybe that, that. Maybe that's the order we'll go with. Light blue, then the greenish color, black, gold, and then dark blue. Okay. You can also do a puddle pour. Maybe next pour video, I will show you how to do a puddle pour. And I did not add any silicone. Oh, I spilled it. Did not add any silicone to this mix. I spilled it again. And of course, I spilled it onto the drop cloth, not on the bag. That's okay. I've got paper towels. All right. There we go. And add some gold. I highly recommend wearing gloves for this. I forgot to do that. And the dark blue. And then some more white. And then the last of the light blue. The turquoise. Excuse me. And the black. and gold. And the blue. So when I first started, I picked up a big jug of Elmer's glue for this to do my pour paintings with. It worked out really good, but I ended up having to add water, and this time it didn't seem like I needed any water for this batch of paint I mixed. That's the last of the dark blue. And maybe I'll top it off with a little bit of white, but I'll save some white so I can use that to help pull the other paints around. And some people, oops, that's okay. Some people will stir it or whatever, but I'm not going to because I think it looks pretty cool. I don't know if you can see these particular colors on the camera or not. So what I have to do is turn the canvas over. And this is a cheap canvas, so I'm not really sure exactly how well it's going to do to holding up to this paint, but we're going to try. And then what you do is you grab a hold of the cup with your hand upside down, put the canvas on top, centered about, and then you flip it over and put it back on the cups. Try to make sure that they are not hanging over the edges. And wipe any paint that you have gotten on yourself, back off yourself. And then I like to tap it a bit and let the paint come down whatever way it's wanting to come down. I think I will go ahead and kind of just pour my extra white around the outside of the cup. I'm using the back side of my knife to spread that out. And you do want it to go over the edges. If the white doesn't, that's fine. The paint that's in the big cup will more than likely be enough to push it over the edge. Because I think that the cup was way more full of the stuff we poured into it than what I had in the white cup. And this is when you'll be glad that you have the bag or whatever plastic down on your surface, so that way you don't end up taking a bath in paint. Oops. Okay. Okay. So now, I think it's been long enough. Let's see. Go ahead and give the cup a little spin. Lift it. Ooh, I'm liking the colors already. And there's some bubbles. Okay, so that's a bubble right there, but that right there's a sail. I don't know if you can tell the difference on the camera. Some people use a torch to help make cells come up. I choose not to. One, I don't have a torch. Two, I don't think it's a good idea to work in your basement without any exhaust or ventilation system and burn stuff and not have a way to get the fumes back out. So you can either let this sit and see where it goes, or you can give it a little help and stretch it a little bit. But I do love some of these cells that are here. Just going to help it a little bit because I didn't get that other white paint smooth. But I don't want to lose that metallic either. Okay. Look how much paint spilled off the edges. A lot. And onto my little cups. Okay. Try to wipe some of that off. I like to have the edges completely covered. And try to knock off some of the drip around the edges so that way hopefully you don't end up with little drippy drips around the edges to take care of later. I had a little spray bottle that I had put some rubbing alcohol in that you can spritz across the surface to help any air bubbles escape. I am not seeing it right now though. Oh, I found it. Hold on. Okay. And this was a setting spray bottle, but it doesn't have setting spray anymore. I put rubbing alcohol in it. And spray on the top, and it helps any of those air bubbles that are in there come up and get untrapped. Okay. Excuse me. So this might end up creeping off. Just keep creeping off, and might look totally different by the time it dries. But I think it's pretty. I wonder if I turned off the overhead light, if you could see it better without that glare on it. I think that might be better. So now I'm gonna leave the camera rolling and probably speed up through the footage, see how much it changes, and be back.